Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. We are your hosts. I'm Ocean.
I'm Taylor.
And ladies and gentlemen, I am back.
Welcome back.
I am finally back in the studio. I owe you all an apology. I apologize. I talked about it before I left, but I had to go do somewhat real Army stuff. And it was a long time. And then when I got back, I had some family stuff that I had to take care of. But I'm back. I'm back, and I just wanted to give a huge shout out to the rest of the team, Taylor and Connor, and our behind the scenes crew that have been working to continue to deliver you guys content, even though I was gone for so long. So thank you guys for covering for me while I was gone, and I really appreciate that. And
it's good to
hopefully
have you back,
you guys enjoyed that. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. And we're going to hit the ground running, ladies and gentlemen. We have a pretty special episode for you guys today because you guys are going to be able to find out our take on the actually, it's not even officially released yet, but a film by Sony, Gran Turismo. Now, if you guys have been following this film, it technically doesn't come out until this Friday, the 26th, right? 25th.
25th.
Sorry, 25th. This Friday, the 25th. But, Sony called us because we're a big time podcast, thanks to you guys, and they wanted to give us a special look at it, and so that we could, get our opinion out to our viewers. No, we just went to the movie theaters because they had a
special early screening.
Yeah, a special
with
early
some bonus content.
Yeah. So we actually saw it on Friday the 18th, a full week early, and we are going to give you guys our take on the movie, let you know what we thought, so that you guys will know whether or not you should see this movie come opening day.
Yep.
And this is kind of a first for us.
This is big.
This is a big a big step in our progression as a channel,
because one day this is going to be a regular.
Yeah, hopefully, eventually we'll get to the point where we're like new rock stars or like Watch Mojo and stuff, where they get invited to
super early.
Yeah, like special screenings and stuff, and they can get their reviews out early, so before it even comes out. So.
But for once, we will be able to help you decide whether or not you want to see this opening day.
Yeah, and that's really exciting for us. We're really excited to deliver you guys that info. So we're going to do this in traditional fashion, ladies and gentlemen, and this one really matters. We're going to start with our spoiler-free content, and then we're going to, get our scores out to you guys, and then dive into some spoilers. All right? So before we get into that, though, as always, Taylor's going to give you guys a rundown of who's in the 2023 film Gran Turismo.
So this movie is starring Archie Madekwe. Sorry if I mispronounce your name again. He plays Jan Mardenborough. We got David Harbour as Jack Salter. Orlando Bloom plays Danny Moore. Darren Barnett plays Maddie Davis. We have Jerry Halliwell. She plays Leslie Mardenborough. Dimon Honsu plays Steve Mardenborough. Then we also have Amelia Hartford, who plays Leia Vega. Song Hwan Lee plays Ju Hwan Lee. And then last, we have Joshua Stradowski, who plays Nicholas Kappa.
So there are some pretty noticeable names in here. David Harbour is super popular. Orlando Bloom, obviously a huge star, and there's a lot of people in here that I was really excited to see, like Jiramon Honsu. I always
Great
love
actor.
him. So super exciting, ladies and gentlemen.
And it'll be interesting to see how we feel individually about the main star.
Right. So if you guys remember from our trailer reaction that we did a couple months ago, we talked about how the main star, Archie Madekwe, apologize, and our thoughts on him due to his involvement with the Apple TV Plus's original series titled C, the Jason Momoa franchise where he plays Jason Momoa's son, and wasn't too good for him, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
It was pretty
it
bad.
wasn't. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to hear what you have to say about this movie, because I think I have some pretty cool thoughts. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna dive into our spoiler-free content, let you guys know whether or not you should see this movie, and give you guys an idea of what to expect without spoiling the movie for you. So, Taylor, after seeing the movie, how do you feel? What are your thoughts?
So for one, it is really cool watching something beforehand, I guess, like an early screening.
Yeah.
I did like the fact that it had additional content with it as well, being the early bonus feature, whatever. This movie, I didn't have super high expectations for it, but it's also a very pleasant surprise
Oh,
in
okay.
this movie.
Nice.
So I enjoyed this movie quite a bit, which I guess in this case, it played a benefit for it that I had low expectations.
Yeah.
That when it delivered, it actually made it like probably higher than I would normally think.
Okay. Well, that's exciting. I enjoyed the movie too. I enjoyed it. I wasn't super familiar with this story before the movie. Like I didn't really know who Jan Martinborough was and his story and how all this unfolded. But I consider myself a a car guy, and I consider myself, and the reason why I'm a car guy is largely in part because of a bunch of racing video games that I
Right.
played growing up, right? And so for me, as I was watching this movie, I really identified with a lot of the aspects of it because I was like, man, like that's how I felt when I was a kid playing racing
Right.
games. And then I can remember times when I was a kid. I'm like, damn, I'm so good at racing because I'm good at this video game.
Right. Right.
Like, man, maybe I could race cars in real life. I can't probably,
We don't know, but
but the idea that this really happened and there really was a guy that was able to take his video game skills and his simulator game
yeah.
skills onto the streets and be successful was really cool, and to learn more about it was really cool.
Yeah.
So
So to that extent, I kind of felt similar, probably not nearly as much as you. I mean, I love cars,
yeah,
but it's just not like my like
sure,
main thing.
yeah.
Guns is more that, but I do love cars a lot. I've also grown up with a lot of racing games and stuff, including Gran Turismo.
Uh-huh.
So that aspect is really fun and like exciting when like going into this kind of movie, and all the aspects that you talked about with it being like somebody or like a kid's dream and then it becoming a reality.
Right.
And like in this case with Jan Martinborough, like in real life becoming a race like professional race car
Right.
driver and stuff is insane. And which is why the idea of it I thought was really cool, which we shared in the trailer and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of aspects to that. I think will go beyond just car people with this movie. Like, sure, it obviously is directly related to that because it's Gran Turismo and racing and all that kind of stuff. But the idea of maybe not you watching this video, but a kid growing up and playing games or something,
Right.
or even watching movies, and then that their dream being, oh, I want to be this, like do this when I grow up, or professionally do whatever they're already doing now when they grow up is incredible. And I
Yeah.
think that's awesome. And so even for those, like I said, that are not into cars, that idea of I just played games all my life and everybody frowned, like, discouraged you and like, hey, you're just doing nothing with your life. And a lot of the stuff that's in this movie
Yeah.
to, be like, no, you're wrong. I'm going to do this. It's going to happen. And you're just going to have to sit there and watch me. I think is a really cool concept that they use in this movie a lot.
I like that there's they talk about it in the special features after, but the uplifting sense to it, right? There's an empowerment that comes from the central message of this movie
Right.
to the viewers that may not necessarily find themselves in the exact same situation that Jan found themselves in, but uh, maybe they've been discouraged. Maybe maybe you're just not, you don't have the motivation to go after what it is that you truly want to pursue, but being able to watch a story about somebody that did it and was able to stick with it and become successful, it just empowers you as the viewer to want to go do it on your own.
Right. And
In your
it's like a one of those cliche things of like you have to follow your dreams kind of
right,
thing. And no matter what anybody tells you, everything is always going to seem impossible until somebody does it.
exactly.
So even if you don't, like you said, don't look at it so specifically like this particular story, it's just that idea of just believe in yourself and you can do almost anything.
You can literally fly.
Jump on your friend's back.
All right. Big question. Do you recommend the people that are watching this video to go watch this movie this weekend?
Highly recommend people to watch this movie.
Yeah. I tried to do a quick survey of what other movies are coming out this weekend, and I didn't really find anything else. But there's also a few big movies that will have come out the weekend prior to when you guys are watching this. Blue Beetle and Strays.
Gotcha.
And make sure you guys stay tuned later this week for our reviews on those movies. But I think that this movie is probably the best thing to go watch in theaters this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, I mean, not knowing what else is out off the top of my head, I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Yeah, I think it's worth going to watch. It's a good family watch as well.
Yeah.
I don't remember any swearing really. Like,
I don't think so. I don't remember a lot of language.
I think it's a PG-13, and there's no like, it's a good family movie. Like, your young kids might not understand what's going on, but I think it's a good movie, and it's got a really good message. So, yeah, go check it out, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
that's our
biggest thing I just want to say for this movie before we get into scores and everything is I don't know what the consensus is going to be for this movie or whatever. But I promise you, it's worth watching this movie.
Yeah.
Whether or not there's like a million reviews that say like, oh, it's like, whatever their opinions on and stuff or whatever. Obviously the said can be same for us, but I think this movie is something you shouldn't sleep on. I know the trailer is kind of cringe and it's in the movie. But when you get past like the setup and everything that just needs to happen, this movie is worth it.
Yeah, I would agree. I would 100% agree. I think that some people might, some of you guys might have gotten turned off by watching the trailer and thinking to yourself, "Oh, this is a video game movie." But by the end of the movie, it's really not. It's really not about. I mean, the video game is heavily present throughout the movie, but it's not. That's not really what this movie is about, and that's why I think the movie works. Is that they were able to mesh it being based off of a video game or based around this story that was rooted in a video game, but they were also able to bring it into a real life kind of thing and mesh it with other themes and other messages very well. So yeah, go check it out, ladies and gentlemen. It opens officially on August 25th, and you guys should be able to find it in any movie theater near you guys. So go check it out, guys. We're telling you this 4 days early.
It's amazing.
Huge milestone for Any Kine Media.
Amazing.
We're early. We're 4 days early this time instead of late.
I know, right?
Yeah, we're not late now. So no excuse for you guys to miss out on this movie. Go check it out. I think you guys will enjoy it. And when you guys do go check it out and you watch it, make sure you come back to the video and let us know how you guys thought about the movie. Okay? All right. Now, this is the part where it starts to get a little if you don't want to walk into the movie theater with any expectations, you might want to turn off the video.
Just stop now.
Yeah, you might want to turn off the video. Okay, so because we're about to dive into some scores, let you guys know our thoughts on the movie. It won't be spoilers technically per se, but if you're like me, that where I try not to have any kind
ratings
of expectations
alone can cause a lot of
exactly. Because if everybody's like, "Oh, this is a 10 out of 10 movie,"
or it's a fucking 2, like
yeah, I'm gonna walk in there expecting it to freaking blow my socks off, and when it doesn't, I'm upset.
Yeah.
So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, scores. Taylor, what is your score for Gran Turismo?
Gran Turismo comes in flying at a 9 for me.
Holy smokes! Wow. Okay. All right. I'm excited to find out why. I'm excited to find out why. I think this movie is gonna not fall victim. It's actually gonna benefit from the fact that we don't do decimal points. Because if I was being honest, if we're doing decimal points, I probably would have given it a 7.5. But because we don't, it's gonna benefit from that, and it's gonna get an 8 from me. 8 out of 10. Really enjoyed it. There are some things here and there, that just whatever. Movies, it's just not perfect, but it's okay.
Yeah,
I still really enjoyed the movie, and I'm excited to find out your thoughts, buddy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the part where you really got to turn off the video.
Yeah,
if you're gonna go watch the movie. Your last warning.
Warning. This movie is not out yet.
Yeah.
So if you do not want spoilers, leave now.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is gonna serve as your official
spoiler alert.
And you cannot be mad at us going forward now if you guys stuck around.
Because this is the first time ever we're coming out early.
It's a weird feeling, guys. It's a weird feeling, but I like it. I like the sense of like, it's like we got a secret.
We got the power.
It's like we have a secret and you guys don't know because you haven't seen it yet. And we're about to let you in on the secret. We're about to bring you guys into the circle. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited to do that for the first time ever. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about it. All right, Gran Turismo started out as a video game, right? What was the name of the creator of the video game?
Technically, it's a racing simulator.
Okay, my bad. Sorry, Jan. Sorry. It's actually a line. It's actually a line that Jan says in a very cringy scene with a female. Yes. Is it Jenny? Is that her name? It's not Jenny. It's not Jenny.
Leah?
Is it Leah? It's Leah Vega.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Either Leah or Leo, whatever.
That's the love interest. Leia is a love interest for Jan. And it's pretty cringy, but it's their young love, whatever.
Yeah.
But he actually says like, oh, it's not really a video game. It's actually a racing simulator.
Technically, yes, it is. But
it's also a video game, brother.
Well, because people play it as a video game.
You could do both. You could play it as like a regular racing game. It's just
how you choose to do so. Same thing with like Arma. It's a simulator, but you can play it like a video game. Yeah, exactly. It's just up to you. So most people do treat it as a video game.
Right. But so main character, right? You guys know this from the trailer if you guys have seen it. Main character, Jan Martinborough, played the heck out of Gran Turismo. Hours upon hours upon hours of playtime on the game or on the simulator, and ends up being able to compete for the chance to go to the GT Academy and become a real life race car driver. And so it presents all these different kinds of problems and stuff, right, that he has to overcome and then has to prove himself and whatnot. And we're going to work our way through it, talk about what we liked, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on stuff. So first thing, let's just get it out of the way, right? Let's just talk about the biggest question mark that we both had going into the movie.
Archie,
brother. Here's what I'll say, all right? If I was like if I was paying Archie for his performance and I told him, "Hey, bro, if you knock this performance out of the park, I'll give you $100,000." And but for all the like, if you do shittier, then I'm
Subtract.
gonna subtract money from you, you know, from your payment. I'd probably give him like 65K somewhere. Like about 65K. Um, there were definitely some points in the movie where I felt like I was watching the sun from sea, and then it broke the immersion for me. It broke the instead of watching Jan Martinborough do these things or say these things, I was watching this annoying character that I remember from a different TV show do these things. So yeah, I don't know. But on the other hand, there are also some other scenes where I was like, wow, I'm really impressed with your ability, like how you perform that and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. What how did you feel?
Archie, look, bruv.
I but
Your performance in this movie is we'll say spotty at best.
yeah.
Uh, unfortunately for you, you did not, I guess, change my mind about you as an actor from C. Saw a lot of Kofun in this,
Yeah.
and
And that's unfortunate because like you can't base an actor off of one performance, right?
generally, yeah,
Which is what we said during the trailer reaction, right? We can't judge an actor based off of one performance. So we needed to find out, was his performance in C because that's the way that the director wanted it,
right.
or was it just him?
Now, this doesn't mean that you were. I think you're just a bad actor. So far from just this and C,
Yeah.
these kind of roles, I don't really think you're very great at. You did okay enough in this movie. Unfortunately, you're probably part of the reason why this movie doesn't quite live up to my at least my expectations
Yeah.
for how great this movie is.
I would 100% agree.
But you did enough to not really drag it all the way to
Yeah.
the floor.
Yeah.
So in that extent, I guess, like I said, you're fine. There's a lot of really bad stuff in the beginning with the movie in general. But like I said, I understand why it's necessary, and they had to build it and they wanted to do it quickly to actually get to the main focus of the story. So in that sense, like, it's whatever, but it is hella cringe. And there's a lot of like stereotypes and like stigmatisms in this movie that I'm not a fan of, but like they exist for a reason.
Sure.
So some of them, it's like, okay, fine. And then
What are some of those things that you're talking about?
so this is a game, right? It's a video game movie, kind of. There's gamers involved in this. And being with gamers, there's a lot of like, you're a loser. You can't do like all these things. You have no friends, or your friends are losers. You hang out and sit on the computer all day and play games all the time. You're out of shape. You're not fit.
Sure.
And like I said, most of these on average is kind of true. But I don't really like the way they try to portray it in this movie. And on top of that, the gamers in this movie, you're not gamers, bro. Just looking at you in this movie, none of you look like you play games. I mean, I obviously you're actors, but have you seen a gamer in real life, bro? They don't look like these fucking actors.
Well, I think there's an argument to be made that anybody could be a gamer.
Anybody can be a gamer.
Like,
but like I said, if you want to like generalize it, and then you're like, I want the top cream of the crop gamers in the world for this competition.
Yeah.
Not one of them was fucking fat. And I know damn well at least one person is going to be a little overweight, even if you don't want to exaggerate it. But all of these people were like borderline like influencers, or I don't know what you want to categorize them as, but they don't look like gamers to me. Which to me is an important aspect because I am a gamer.
Right.
So if you're making a movie about gamers,
You want to be
I want to
represented
like at least
correctly.
feel
Yeah.
like that could have been me.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
I know Jan Mardenborough. Like, I mean, the real Jan Mardenborough, I can't imagine is obviously way more what's it called, like talented than uh his how he's portrayed in the movie. But everybody else, like, it was pretty cringe
Yeah.
in the
Okay.
beginning.
I didn't really pay attention to that really. Honestly, like I didn't even like pick up on that. Like how and it actually the reason why I didn't pick up on it is probably has to do with some of the negative things that I have about this movie, negative things that I didn't like.
And is it in the beginning of the movie?
Yeah, yeah.
Or at least
Um,
for the most part.
I had some issues with the pacing of the
Yeah,
different like sections and
that makes
stuff.
sense.
So sorry. So I had some issues with the pacing a little bit because in the beginning, like again, like I said, I understand why all these things are in there, and even when the special features that was afterwards, they kind of talk about it a little bit,
Yeah.
that they had to set up things right. Any good story has to be set up properly, and the beginning portion with Yan and his family, I didn't like what makes the dynamic between Yan and his family important to the story is that Yan's father and his family are supposed to feel like they're trying to just do what's best for him, you know? Like they're trying to just help him. And in
Yeah.
reality, 9 out of 10 times, like if your son just sits in his room and plays video games all day, 9 out of 10 times he's probably like the future options are slim, right? And so I can understand at being a dad wanting to try and help him broaden his horizons and try to bring him back down to reality. And like I get all of those things, but what the movie failed to do was make me believe that his family cared about that. Like
Yeah, I can
to me, it
understand that.
just felt like his family was just like writing him off and just be like, dude, you fucking suck. Because it was a combination of a little bit of just the cringiness of the dialogue and stuff in the beginning, and then also the fact that there is pretty much um, no like family interaction throughout the middle portion of the movie until the end. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the whole time he's going through the GT Academy and through the circuit races to get his FIA license and all that. There's no interaction with him. And I just have a hard time believing that he just like never called his mom or never called his dad or never talked to his brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which I totally get that, and I kind of agree. The explanation they have for like the period of time we're in the middle where you're talking about is kind of dumb, because like I know that he's like in this mood
Yeah.
basically of being angry at his family for treating him like they did,
Yeah,
which
but
is messed up. But
I
it's like, dude, you're going through like a
yeah,
insane thing in your life that like most people are never going to do. Like it's completely unique.
and the time parameters of it are poorly shown in the movie. It's
Right, but
weeks.
it's a
It's
long time.
weeks of
Yeah, it's a
time.
pretty good amount of time between each like
Yeah.
race and stuff. And so it is weird that he's just like
Yeah.
permanently in this like, no, I hate you, I don't forgive you kind of like
Right.
mood throughout until the end.
Especially because like I've watched interviews of real life Jan Martin Burrow talk about how his family was in the instrumental in his ability to get through everything because he knew that he like had that support system, right? And it just wasn't shown. And I didn't like that because then it paints Jan Martinborough as this rebellious child that had to make everything on his he had to make it on his own. He was on his own the whole time. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just didn't like that. And maybe it works for you guys that don't know any outside information, but for me, I was like, I don't really care for that. But
Yeah. That's understandable. Back to the original example that you were giving with his relationship with his dad. I think, which I guess lines up with what you would rather have, is and I think is a big missed opportunity, especially again because to me this is important for somebody who plays games, or maybe you do coding, or maybe you're a software engineer, or anything to do that's nerdy stuff, right? Is they almost set it up and then just
I know
fucking
exactly what you're
drop it.
talking about, where he's standing
Is
at the door.
he
He's like,
walks,
"Oh, why
he's
do you?"
playing Gran Turismo and he's watching him, and you're like, oh wow, this is going to be like a nice moment
Exactly.
of his dad realizing the potential in his son. And he asked him a question like, oh hey, how come you're not following the line that the game's projecting for you to follow, that it's
Yeah, the
optimal?
race line. Yeah.
And so Yan says, he's like, look, sometimes I just want to do something else, and sometimes I win because of that, which is good. That's like an instinct that he has.
Yeah.
And that's such a big missed opportunity for his dad to realize that. I mean, not even just that. Well, that's just one example of being like, look, my son's actually, he's learning something from this. It's not just a fucking mindless game.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is, like sometimes it's just entertainment. But in this case, like this, not only does he know like how like the acceleration of different vehicles, their speed, wind dynamics, and racing on the track and stuff, and timing and everything. There's a lot of things that you can learn from like these simple, like generally seen as like dumb, worthless, meaningless hobbies that people have. And Jan Mardenborough is living proof of that.
Right.
And for some reason in the movie, they missed this really nice moment for a father-son to come together for the first time in the movie, obviously.
Right. And that was what that was the tone that I was anticipating the movie to want to follow. And so when they missed out and they chose not to have that moment, then it kind of threw me for a little bit of a like, oh, like this is, now I'm like off put, and I'm trying to figure out like, okay, where are we going? Like what are we, what kind of dynamic are we going for here? And I know this is a true story based off of a true story.
Right. There's some drama.
But even the director and the producers themselves admit that there's a lot of embellishment and a lot of creative liberty taken with the permission of Jan Mardenborough, right, in order to make a theatrical film for this story. So I mean, unless Jan Mardenborough like specifically was just like, hey, like when it comes to my relationship with my dad, it needs to be this, this, and this. Yeah, they missed out on an opportunity there, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the opposite of bad performances. I thought there were some really good performances in this film. Two people specifically for me. I think David Harbour was like really good and a really solid performance. But I like kind of expected that, because David Harbour is really good in everything that I've seen him in. But the one that actually stood out the most to me is Orlando Bloom. Orlando Bloom's performance as Danny Moore. For a couple reasons. One, because I know how Danny Moore is in real life, and I think that Orlando Bloom nailed him. Like,
what is he?
Huh?
What is he?
He's a marketing executive.
Okay.
Is what he is. So for Nissan.
Team Nissan.
Yeah. For Nissan. Right? His job was to market things in the UK. Right?
Gotcha.
That was his job, was to sell cars or sell cars in the UK. And there's a lot of interviews and a lot of like footage of the real Danny Moore out there. And after I saw the trailer and stuff, I did a little bit of research, and so I know what Danny Moore was like in real life, and Orlando Bloom nailed it. Like he was perfectly just like Danny Moore. And on top of that, I feel like I haven't seen Orlando Bloom on the big screen in a while.
It's been a little
You
while,
know,
yeah.
like it's been a while. Like he's one of my all time favorite actors for his roles in Pirates of the Caribbean and stuff, and I have he just hasn't been on the big screen
Yeah,
very
he
much.
is great in Pirates, but Orlando Bloom is actually an actor I really like in his smaller roles.
Like
I
Black
mean,
Hawk Down.
he's in Black Hawk Down. He's been in the Netflix movie. It's a Netflix like I think it's a Netflix movie based off of a documentary, which is called The Outpost. But the documentary is Restrepo. It's a
Oh, I
U.S.
think
Army,
yeah,
Afghanistan
I think I've seen
documentary. It's really both are actually really good. He's in the theatrical like
the
movie of it,
Outpost. Yeah,
but that's also actually a really good
no, that
movie.
sounds familiar to me.
So, but yeah, he's a
I
great
mean,
actor.
obviously he's Legolas, right? Like,
Yeah, and
but
legendary.
yeah, but it's just nice to see him, and I was excited to see him in a. I mean, I guess different from his most well known roles, right?
Yeah,
Um,
it's not like
it's not out of. It's not like he's never done roles like a role like this before, but just nice to see him different. And like I said, I think his performance was really good when you compare him to the real Danny Moore.
yeah. So
So
that's cool. Yeah, I have no idea how Danny Moore is or what he's like. Um, but I thought Orlando Bloom did good in his role. He didn't stand out like to me, but I thought he was good.
okay,
For me, David Harbour, I think, did incredibly well in this movie. Um, and there's a lot of like aspects to his character that I really enjoyed,
yeah,
and so, and because this is not like he's not like a action oriented character in this movie. I really enjoyed that a lot, and it's a lot more, I guess, like emotional based
right.
in this movie. It's not like a unique character, I guess, and it's
No,
like it's
because
very pretty popular in like a lot of racing things in
I
general.
love, but I love it. I love
Yeah,
it,
it's
and
very emotional, and it's got like his backstory and stuff is just really
I love that old forgotten forgotten like expert
yeah, like
role.
it always it's just satisfying to me a lot. But I think
Yeah.
he nails it really well in
No,
this
I
movie.
100% agree. I 100% agree. I think he was really solid. It's just like I just expect it from him though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
unfortunately,
which
and
is kind of is
that's kind of on me.
yeah, it's just the thing, but
Yeah.
he is great. I don't ever get tired of you, and I do want to say because I know he has stated that he's just tired of being Hopper from Stranger Things.
Uh-huh.
You're not Hopper to me, bro.
Oh no, no. I
As
mean,
much as a lot of people probably do think that
yeah,
way for you, I promise you, I love you and everything you're in, but you're my Santa.
yeah. I think my favorite role from David Harbour is actually Red Star
Yeah, he is really cool as Red Star.
from Black
Black
Widow.
Widow. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he nailed that role too. But that's what I mean. Like he just nails everything. So it's just like, well, yeah, like I expected you to do that. I expected you to be amazing. I expected you to give me like these really strong Doc from Cars
Yep,
vibes.
he is.
You know,
That's
like it's
exactly
exactly
the
what it
character I'm
was.
thinking of
And it
when
was
I was talking
it was
about his
amazing,
Doc.
and I love it. I love
Yeah,
that.
he nails it.
Yeah, he did. He really did. His
Another, but like an aspect which I guess is kind of the same in Cars too, is like he plays like that like father type
Right.
figure
he's the
for
replacement
Yan,
father.
right?
Yeah.
But for me, I do want to say that I'm gonna mess up his name again. Dimon
Timon
Honsu.
Honsu. Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed your emotional scene
Oh,
in the end of the
1000%.
movie.
So the
You
caveat to
nailed it.
the caveat to my discourse with how they portrayed the father son relationship in the beginning. The other side of that coin is that I feel like at the end when everything comes full circle and that father son moment that they have before his Le Mans race is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, he picks it all the way up.
It's incredibly powerful, and I think because like a lot of times in modern society, fathers are we see it time and time again where fathers don't father correctly and then they have to like apologize. But a lot of
Yeah.
times it's portrayed in this sense of like, I was just trying to do what's right for you. I'm sorry, blah blah blah. I'll be better next time. But his moment was more of like, I messed up. I'm sorry. Like I was
Yes.
not the father that I should have been to you, and I'm sorry for that. And now I can see what I missed back then, and I could feel the pain that he was trying to express, that he like the pain was a not a pain of like, I'm sure he was upset at himself for not being a good father, but just like as a father, you want to be, you want to like that, like you would want to be the guy that's cheering your son on and being like, hell yeah, man, like go get that. But he didn't, and that like feeling of regret for not being the right kind of father really came through in his performance, and
Yeah.
it was really really powerful for me in that scene.
I agree. There's also a little bit into that I will admit, maybe this is just my personal like attachment to this kind of thing. But this reminds me of a scene. So in this movie, when he brings Yan to him to work,
Yep.
and he has him working with him at
Yep.
his job at the rail yard. And like the entire time, he's like, Jan's like, oh, this sucks. And he's like, oh, my race is about to start for GT auditions or whatever. And he's like, oh, you got to go somewhere, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then, like eventually they get into like a little argument. He's like, all right, I'm leaving. And because his dad was like, the whole point of me having you do this is if when you fail, this is where you're going to end
Right.
up. And this type of scene, or I guess like emotional aspect to it, I personally, it's kind of weird because I love it, but it's very like sad and depressing at the same time. I guess because I can like
Relate to
relate to it in a
Yeah.
sense. But there's another movie that does this incredibly well, which is in Men of Honor, but it's
Oh,
very
yep,
similar
yep.
to this. And it's the fact that there's a scene where Cuba Gooding Jr.'s dad he's a farmhand,
Right.
and he busts his ass every day to try to support for his family. And he comes up to him and he's like, oh, Dad, let me help you work. And he's like, no, you
Yeah.
leave here and you never come back.
Yeah.
And it's that idea of like, as a father, like
Wanting your kid, like wanting
you feeling
better for
like
them
such
when
a
you
failure, but you want the absolute best for your kid. And for the best thing for your kid is to leave
Yeah.
and not ever like, see you again generally. Like in this movie, it'd be just temporarily, but
Right.
he's physically leaving and
Right.
traveling the world to race and do what he loves to better himself
Right.
as a person and follow his dreams. Like that idea to me is just so powerful, and I loved it so much in this. It's not quite the same level as
No,
Men of Honor,
I
but it's
think
very similar to me.
like the message is slightly different than the Cuba Gooding Jr. one, but it's still like
It is. It's a little bit more like
I messed up before, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a slightly different tone, but it's like
But I get what you're saying. Yeah.
that's the kind of feel
right.
it is. Like I said,
I'm
it's not as
just
good. It's
glad
just
to see those kinds of themes portrayed on the big screen.
right.
Yeah, I'm
And
glad.
since, like you said, we missed it in the beginning, at
Yeah.
least in the end, we kind of got
Right.
the coming back together, and
Yeah.
because it was really sad
Well,
whenever he finally was like,
I think in the beginning it could have even made it more powerful if in the beginning, like, he was trying. We saw him try. We saw him try to be supportive, try to be the good dad, or try to do what is right. And then at the end, he apologizes for his shortcomings. Like that would have could have been even more powerful than what it was already.
yeah. I mean, I don't mind if he was just being an asshole in the beginning, as long as there was a point of realization
Sure.
within himself that
Yeah,
he
the redemption.
right, that he sees that what he was doing was wrong for his son.
Yeah.
It may have been fine for the other son,
Yeah.
but it was wrong for him to be putting that same type of expectations and pressure
Yeah.
on Yan.
Yeah, I would agree.
But maybe Demono's he's just great at doing those like
Yeah, those emotional.
powerful crying emotional moments because he does always do well on them. So
No, he does. I mean, he's an amazing actor. So
yeah, he is. He's also really funny.
yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that for sure. All right, so that kind of covers like the general overarching story. I do want to talk about kind of the pacing issue that I talked about that I mentioned earlier, and just give you a little more depth into it. I was really bummed about how much time they spend at the GT Academy. And I know that like the movie is 2 hours and 15 minutes already, and it's because they have to cover a lot of time. They have to condense a lot of time, right?
Yeah.
There's pretty much like four overall stages to this story. The first stage is him with his
Family.
family, and
GT Academy.
nothing going right for him, and then he gets this opportunity to race for GT Academy and to get in, right? And then the second stage is the GT Academy, like going to the GT Academy, making it through that. And then the third stage is this section of time
His
of
license.
him getting his license, right? Racing to get his license, coming down to the very last opportunity, and then he gets his license, and then now he's going to race his first like real race, like signed contract, girlfriend locked in. Like he was able to lock down his girl, signed a contract, everything was going well for him, and then boom, this tragic car crash and unfortunate death of a spectator. And then we get this final stage of him learning how to bounce back from that, right? And become successful again. So we got these four stages, and the last stage is incredible. I think they really nailed the last stage. The third stage with the races and all that, to me it was basically like one giant training montage.
Basically, yeah.
Which I'm not particularly upset with. However, the stage of the GT Academy was basically one giant training montage as well. So when you have these two like sections of movie that serve the same purpose, it creates these pacing issues that I'm talking about, and it also glosses over some pretty incredible things. The transformation from being somebody that has just raced on a simulator his entire life and very little physical output to racing a car professionally is a massive undertaking. Massive.
Yep.
Like, I was blown away when I had learned about the kind of forces and physical abilities that drivers have to be able to do in order to race cars. And if you guys are looking for more of this kind of thing, sort of, if you guys watch Formula One Drive to Survive on Netflix, it's a docu series where they follow the drivers of Formula One, and Formula One is a little bit different than the kind of racing that happens in this movie, but the concepts are the same.
Yeah.
And it's truly incredible the kind of physical condition that somebody has to be in to be able to drive a car around a track.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of I feel like adds to the aspects that I like in the beginning of the movie that people may not realize is like, sure, they're like, yeah, you're a race car driver, but it's not just sitting in a chair, holding a pedal down and steering a wheel. Like it's not that simple.
No,
like it is kind like when you're explaining it, but when you're doing it, it's very different.
So any one of us could probably go to like Laguna Seca or Le Mans or the Nürburgring and drive around.
Right.
Drive around. You'll make it around, right? You'll drive
You could
I
even
guarantee you
speed.
could hop in your car and you could drive around the track. The difference is you're going to be driving at like 60 miles an hour down the straights, and in the corners you're going to be going like 10 to 15 miles an hour, maybe 20 if you're like really feeling frisky. These guys are taking corners at 100 miles an hour and driving down the straight at close to 200 miles an hour. So the forces in the just everything is exponential, and it's absolutely bonkers to me that there are people out there that are capable of it.
Yeah, I mean
Like,
it's the
it's
same.
insane.
It's kind of the same concept of being like a pilot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like you're doing these at extreme speeds.
Right.
You're
And
feeling a lot of G's, like all of the G's.
the margin for error is extremely small, and the consequences for error are
Fatal.
massive
Yeah.
and fatal in a lot of cases. So I just wish that we would have gotten a little bit more GT Academy time spent so that we could really begin to understand that aspect. Like for people that maybe don't have any prior knowledge of those things, that was your opportunity to really give depth to the accomplishment of somebody going from a simulator racing to real GT racing. And I think it was kind of lost. And I know David Harbour gives, or Jack Saltier gives his speech.
He has an awesome speech.
Yeah,
by the
it's
way.
a incredibly,
Everybody else that was standing there and like,
Yeah.
oh, that was bad. You shouldn't have said. Shut up.
yeah.
That
was a great
He
speech.
is one of the best mentors in that fucking
Yeah.
movie.
I'm not here to
Hands
prove that
down.
you can.
I'm here to prove that you can't. Because that's what a good teacher is
Yeah.
supposed to do. Like you're gonna see, somebody's gonna obviously look at it and be like, oh, that's really negative. Like you shouldn't be doing that. But that's not actually like what it is. It's just he's preparing them
Yeah.
for for racing for real.
Because
he did it.
The reality of what they're trying to do.
Right. Like, and there is a time and there's a place to be supportive, and he is.
Right.
Which is what
In
I love
those
about his
moments.
character.
Yep.
Is he is there when he absolutely needs to be, but he's firm most of the time.
Right. Yeah. Pressure creates damage.
I do
Yeah.
I do think that would be very cool for them to focus a little bit more on that in the GT Academy as well.
It's hard though, because
Yeah,
it would have
kinda-
made the movie.
I mean,
longer.
I get it. It would definitely add length, and at the same time, too, in the GT Academy they focus more on, admittedly, like stupid things like the
See, that's what
rivalry
I mean.
thing.
Yeah, I
with-
don't like it, especially because it doesn't come to play at any other point in the story either.
Right, because in the end, it's like, oh, we're
In the
we're
end, they
cool,
end up
bro.
being teammates, and
Which
they end up having to
I
work
mean, I
together.
believe that.
Sure,
Because by
yeah.
that point, like you're both already racers, like all those, because they said that they were racing in the lower circuits
Right.
prior to him
Yeah.
joining with him in Le Mans. So that's cool, and I believe that. But it's like you had this like forced like huge rivalry thing in the beginning, which
Yeah.
another thing too. It's like
Yeah, I mean that was the whole point.
Yeah.
Like the whole point was they were there to compete against each other.
right, like so we
But-
get it. But on top of that too, like I thought it was weird that it's like, dude, Jan Mardenborough. I don't know if this is real or this is maybe one of the dramatization kind of thing where the entire time he's in GT Command, he's like floating at the fucking bottom.
Yeah.
And it's like, you generally don't go from the bottom to number one,
Right.
like all of a sudden.
Well, so that's why like I was not frustrated, but I was kind of disappointed in that section because what they did with the way that they told that story is they put the focus on that rivalry aspect between him and the other drivers, and they made it seem like the biggest challenge in this academy section was overcoming the other drivers. But in reality, it's not. The biggest challenge that they all had to face was being able to physically perform the acts and the maneuvers that they needed to do in order to be successful in this racing world. And that gets lost because you're so focused on the fact that Jan and Maddie don't like each other, and Maddie's this guy from the U.S. that's all full of himself, and
Right.
these
Which
typical.
I like. I don't mind his character being that
Sure,
way.
yeah, I don't either.
But yeah, I do agree. Like, so this,
The focus is
I think
just
about
off.
it in a slightly different topic, but it's identical in this situation where, let's say, I'm just for my sake of trying to relate to it, special forces, right? When you're going through special forces training, you're actually really like testing yourself.
Yeah,
It's not like you are competing,
right.
but teamwork is a big thing. In this particular case, it's kind of not until you actually get into racing. Then it's a team thing. But they focus kind of like they show, the gamers
Right.
running and working out and all this stuff, which is totally
Sure.
fine.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's important for this particular profession. And then like you said, they've put so much time and effort into like getting us to like understand like these guys hate each other for some reason. Sure, he's cocky, but that doesn't mean you have to hate him.
Right.
He like if you're a race car driver, I expect you to be arrogant.
Right.
It's the same thing as like a pilot. I expect you to have the mentality that you think you're the best, because that's what it takes for somebody to do that.
Yeah, I agree. And it's actually a well documented and widely accepted personality trait from the kind of people that do these kinds of things, that like in order to be capable of making split second decisions that
confident.
Yeah, that result in either life or death. You have to have that, like that part of your brain that makes you take time and makes you really think about things. Like that has to be gone, and with that comes arrogance and confidence, and that's just
right, like that's just, overconfidence. Yeah. Like, but like you said, you have to do that.
Yeah, otherwise you won't make it in that world. And
right.
So
they kind of like
it's
gloss over it a little bit, because there's that portion with the interviews of the failed what do you call them,
candidates or
student competitors, whatever. They explain it with that, and it's like, okay, that's what I kind of wanted, but you barely touch on it because these people are like leaving.
I wanted to learn more about what specific things did they have to overcome in order to continue to make it on week to week. Like all they really show is these closed course driving circuits that they like take these really tight corners and stuff, and then there's a few like on the track races that they do, but it's very, very small, and it doesn't tell you anything. All it tells you is that they're competing, and that right now the biggest focus is that the fact that Jan is not your prototypical driver off the grid, but then he has these natural talents that are starting to come through and will carry him on to the next level if he can figure out a way to really lean into him. But
I just hate that we don't see that though.
No, but that's what I mean. Is like they don't show that. They just show a little bit of driving and a whole lot of dialogue about why this person is better than this person, and like socially, and not even like skillfully.
It's kind of a shame, because look, dude, I have no doubt in my mind that Jan Mardenborough is where he's at because he's fucking talented.
Hell yeah.
But why don't we get to see it?
Yeah.
I mean, the emotional stuff, cool. I like it. Like it can be like it's a good addition to it. But like you said, in the GT Academy, this is where you should be explaining to us why not everybody can be a race car driver.
I agree, but they didn't, and
I don't know if it's because they had like I said, they kind of lean too much into like the gamer aspect sometimes, and then it's like, oh, we just want this rivalry thing for whatever reason.
I don't know why they did it that way, but it just wasn't. It wasn't it. Didn't.
But
really.
I will say though, it's kind of like, I guess it's seemingly like maybe this is a recurring thing for this movie, is although they don't do it well in the beginning for me at the GT Academy, I fucking love the ending. Yeah, like whenever he David Harbour's character walks up Jack and he's like, well, you better start fucking training more because you're in. Right. And he's like, yes. And he like made it. I was like, yes. I was pumped for that. Like all the moments in this movie for me, like when he's racing too, like this is part of the reason why I think I like this movie so much, is because I'm not super into, not that I'm against it, but I'm not super into like racing and cars
Yeah.
stuff. It's cool. But this movie, like when he's racing, it gets me pumped, dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I don't know if it's just the aesthetics where they kind of blend in like video game,
Uh-huh.
like Gran Turismo
FOV
stuff.
or
And it's like bing,
POV and stuff.
bing. And he's like 5. And he's like, you know, he does like fucking cut-ins and like passes people and shit. I loved it. Like he
Yeah.
got me hyped every single time. And that's probably I didn't feel as bad as the third section of the movie that you were saying,
Mhm.
where I can see that it kind of just does what we should have really had earlier.
Well, so like if the third section of the movie, I don't have problems with it in and of itself. I have problems with it because of what became before it. I like the training montage s that you get from that third phase of the movie is great. Like, and it's executed really well. And I get the same feeling. I get pumped up whenever I see him, you know, racing. And like you said, you see his position change as he passes
slowly,
people and all that
sometimes he
stuff.
drops back,
And it's great. And seeing him faced with all these different setbacks that keep him from getting his FIA license until the very last race. Yeah, I like all of that. And I like the pacing of that section in and of itself. But when you couple that with the fact that the section before that was basically the same exact thing, it just felt super redundant for me, and I didn't care for that. But,
that's why I say like I can kind of understand that, like thinking about it now.
Yeah,
I don't even recognize it
I get
because
it.
I was just so hyped in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, which is like I said, it's a weird feeling for me because
you didn't expect to feel that way,
right? Like I wasn't expecting
you
it out of this movie.
You should watch Drive to Survive, because Drive to Survive is basically the same exact thing as the third phase of this movie.
But does it follow multiple people?
Yeah, it follows pretty much every driver on the grid. So there's
so I feel like I wouldn't quite feel the same. I probably would still enjoy it.
I don't know. I see the thing about Drive to Survive though is that you develop favorites. Like the reason why my favorite driver in F1 right now is Charles Leclerc is because of that show, because of just seeing like his story.
Yeah, I guess that makes
stacked
sense.
up against everybody else's stories.
So some of them probably would stand out versus
100%. You're definitely going to develop your favorite, and you're going to develop people that you don't like and whatnot. And then there's a fair amount of like documentary type stuff of interviews and talking about their home life or their past life or what they had to do to get to here. But then there's also an equal amount of race day like stuff and watching them race and unique angles that you don't really get to see on like live and stuff. So it's really good. You should check it out, because cool. I think you'll get a similar feeling. But I have a confession to make about the third phase of the movie.
Okay.
And it's slightly embarrassing because for some reason, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what it is, but for some reason, movie theater popcorn just runs right through me, man.
Oh, so you had
I don't know why. It is just movie theater popcorn, because I can eat popcorn at home all day long.
Maybe it's just a lot of butter, or their type of butter.
I don't really eat butter. Like I don't like butter on everything. Like, even at the movie theaters, I ask no butter. Like I don't get extra.
Oh yeah, I know, but it inherently has.
But yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. But every time I eat movie theater popcorn specifically, it runs right through me. And so, there's a scene in the movie where Jan and Jack are sitting down in like looks like kind of like a hotel lobby, and they're talking about like the next steps and stuff after he got his license.
Yeah.
It's right before his first race where he unfortunately ends up crashing. And they're talking like Jack's like, why don't you fly your girl out? You know, like why don't you give her a first class
Tokyo scene?
And that was when the bell was being rung. That's when my body was like, hey, if you don't get to the bathroom right now, there's gonna be a lot of angry people in this theater. So I missed the signing of his contract. I missed the first interaction with the girl, and I missed the crash, unfortunately. However, I did go back and watch it again through interweb things, and so I have seen it, just in that moment, I
Right.
missed it because I had to go. uh, but yeah,
So this is probably not really that important for a lot of people, maybe. But I like the scene when this happens, the whole Tokyo thing,
uh-huh.
mostly because I feel like this is something a lot of younger people would do, getting the opportunity to meet basically like one of your heroes, where
Yes,
he's like, I want to go to Tokyo and I want to meet the creator of
right,
Gran Turismo.
yeah,
Not only is it relevant for him because he was in GT Academy, he won, and now he's going to be racing for
right.
Nissan, but just that idea of like, if you could do anything, because now you're
Meet your
fucking rich,
heroes, yeah,
what do you want to do? And he's like, I want to meet the creator of the game.
right. And there's also it also calls back to an earlier scene in the movie where he's talking to
To Leia.
Leia,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Oh, if you could go anywhere in the world right
Where
now,
would
where
you
would you
go?
want to go?" And he's like, "I'd want to go to Japan."
Yeah. Now they do say in that same scene that like, he's like, "Oh, you mean this is that the same place of the creator of your
Yeah,
video game?" And he's like, "It's a racing
Wait, you
simulator."
think come the lighter.
Oh yeah. Okay, bro. Okay, bro.
Okay, buff. All right, buff.
Oi, bro. Yeah. So, but like it's it's kind of cringe, but I think it's cool at the same time. Um, and then it also makes like a semi nice moment for
It
the
does.
whole
I mean,
relationship
it's
thing.
nice. It
But
is.
I think the big thing is I liked about this movie as far as that goes is they don't lean on that too much in this movie with the whole
Yeah.
relationship with the girl. Um,
They don't use it like it doesn't really affect the story really.
like almost at all,
It's just
really.
extra.
Yeah, like she's kind of just there. She doesn't like influence him or anything.
Right.
He does. I think they kind of do a little bit stupid with the scenes of like him like looking at scrolling through her Instagram and stuff. I'm
Right.
like, sure, somebody might is gonna do that in real life, but I don't need to see it in this movie.
Yeah.
I know it's just like a few minutes or whatever, but you could have shaved that and
Yeah.
did something else. Um, but as far as her actual relation to like his particular story, I thought was good. That it was short. She was
I
there
think
when
it
he
just
needed somebody to talk to, and that was it.
I think it ultimately what it does is just helps to humanize him. It just helps to remind people that he's a human being and that even though he was able to achieve these incredible feats and these incredible accomplishments, that at the end of the day he's still a human being.
Yeah, I mean he's a young adult.
Yeah, and he needs the same thing that you and I did when we were 23 years old. You know, so.
Right.
All right, let's talk about the final phase of the movie where we get to see, the re-success. So unfortunately, he crashes in his very first race as a signed driver of Nissan,
Yeah.
Nissan, sorry,
Team
and
Nissan.
and he crashes. It's at the Nürburgring, and unfortunately, at the Nürburgring, it is known for high winds and shitty conditions, and if your car isn't properly tuned, then it can create some pretty scary situations. And he took off.
He took flight.
Yeah, he took flight, and he ended up actually the result of the crash ended up killing a spectator that was watching. And so there's some pretty emotional scenes of him coming to grips with that, and I actually was impressed with Archie's performance during that. The hospital scene when he finds out that he killed somebody, like that's what I would anticipate somebody acting like in that situation. Um, and it also produces this incredible moment for David Harbour's character Jack
Yes.
Saltier to overcome his own internal struggles with something that happened in his past that was very similar, and the reason why he's no longer a race car driver now.
It's another dad moment.
And yeah, it gives him the opportunity to overcome that and beat that, and it's a great moment. And it also happens to take place in one of my favorite cars of all time, a Porsche GT3 RS, which if anybody's looking for a Christmas gift, I would love a Porsche GT3 RS.
I'll take the Godzilla.
So yeah, it's great. It's a great emotional moment. And then the final phase of the movie is him just overcoming that grief, that guilt, that block, and getting back to racing, getting back into the saddle. And then he has to prove himself by Racing at Le Mans. And if you are even remotely in the world of racing, you know that the 24 hours of Le Mans is like the pinnacle of automobile racing. Like that's the race of the year, essentially, if you're talking about overall automobile racing. And I know I said earlier that I really, really enjoyed the final phase of the movie and thought it was very well executed and really good. I have one slight problem though. There is pretty much no explanation or any footage or anything of the transition of somebody from GT racing to hypercar racing. And it's very different. Very, 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 very different. Like if you're racing in the GT circuits, more than likely not the person that they're going to be calling on to go race a Le Mans car because it's massively different. And they talk about it like very, very briefly when they introduce the car, which by the way, that car is so sexy. The 24 hours of Le Mans car. Oh my god, it's so nice. But yeah, I was a little disappointed that they didn't kind of expand on that because it's massively different. But at the end of the day, it just would have made the movie longer. So I kind of get why. But I really liked the fourth phase. I really liked that's where we get the emotional moment between him and his dad. We get to see him like fully come into his own on the track, and really become the racer and the driver that he was meant to be. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments in this movie where it's like those little times where it's like, oh, he's not quite there yet. And he like takes a step back, and there's like a moment of him like, this actually might have been earlier, but to me, I just thought it was later, where he's like slowing down, and then this might have been in the third section when he's getting his license. Probably is.
Are you talking about when he's like falling behind?
And so David Harbour starts blasting Kenny G.
So that happens. It happens at the 24 hours of Le Mans because he starts the race off, and he's racing, and he's like fucking all fucked up. Like he's remembering.
Yeah, he's having the very basically first, like PTSD.
Like they start, and then one of the first corners, a car goes off the road and bursts into flames.
Right.
And then he like has flashbacks to his accident, whatever. He's falling back severely in the race, and then David Harbour puts on the Kenny G,
and he's like, "Turn it off." Yeah. He's like, "Hey, take all that Kenny G anger and let it out on the track."
Yeah, it was great. Fine. It was a great moment. Yeah, he just takes off and he unleashes his full power.
Flying, dude.
Yeah, he just unleashes his full power. So it was those moments are awesome, and I'm very grateful that it happened that way.
Yeah.
So, man, I enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. It was honestly my biggest surprise movie for me recently.
What was your favorite car throughout the movie? So you see there's a lot of cars throughout the movie, but what was your favorite car?
It's just the GTR.
Just the basic GTR, or
I mean, they don't ever show it, but the one that Jan says in the
they
bonus,
do show it. They do actually show it. Yeah. So there's a scene of them during the prep for his first ever race. In the prep for his first ever race, there's a shot or a small scene of them working on a car in the shop, and he's like talking to one of the pit crew or something. I can't remember exactly what, but the car is sitting on a block. It doesn't have wheels on it, and you can tell that it's slightly different because the body panels and stuff are all just a little bit different. And the hallmark of GT500 cars are fender vents.
Yeah,
like that's a very specific thing because they need a lot more cooling for brakes. So the fenders are drastically different from the other ones. I'll see if I can find it for you, a picture for you, but They do show it. 'Cause
Okay,
that
so I
car,
just never noticed it, but
yeah,
that one
yeah,
looks fucking sick.
it's amazing. That car is
Yeah,
insane.
but honestly, even the base one,
Oh yeah,
they're
I
all
mean,
fucking
yeah,
cool,
I'll
bro.
take any
All the
R35,
cars
but
in this
yeah,
fucking movie are awesome.
yeah,
The
yeah.
only one I don't like, and it's not the car itself, it's the color.
I know the Lamborghini.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just
the
I
gold
don't need the
Lamborghini.
gold, bro. Like it's hella cringe.
It's cringe, and it's also like there's a reason why if you look at real life GT racing, nobody drives Lamborghinis
No.
because they're not really meant. They're not really track cars. They're unless you're getting like a Lamborghini Centennial GT or something that was literally built for the track. That's different. But those are like Lamborghini fucking what you call them? The oh god, not a Murcielago. It's gonna piss me off. Huracan. That's it. Yeah, those are basically just Lamborghini, like special Lamborghini Huracans.
But of all the cars,
Yeah,
it's not the car itself, just the color. I just
yeah.
don't like it's that. I just don't like Team Cab in general. You're not really supposed to, but fucking cringe. I hope you get your ass beat, even though it's not real.
They did.
But one question I had for you actually.
Yeah, what's up?
So the acts that happens of I can't even remember his name, Kappa dude.
Yeah.
Pushing Yan to
the him rear-ending him and causing him to crash.
Is that legal?
So okay, so there's a whole bunch of different racing like associations and like different leagues and stuff, you know. So like F1, GT racing.
Yeah, they're all separate.
There's a whole lot of different ones. The particular style of racing that this movie takes place in, the GT racing, I'm not like super familiar with their rules and whatnot. But what I can tell you is that contact in general is generally not allowed. And what ends up happening is they apply a penalty to you. So depends on where it takes place, and it's up to the race marshals to decide how long and like what happens. So a lot of times what will happen is contact will be made, they keep racing unless obviously they crash and they can't physically race, but they keep racing, keep going, and then the race marshals will look at the footage and figure out whose fault it was, and they'll apply a penalty to that person, and it can come in the form of just taking 10 seconds off of your time, or adding 10 seconds I should say to your total time, or sometimes they do pit lane penalties where you gotta, on your next lap, you have to go into the pit lane and you have to pit and you have to stay in your pit stop for 10 seconds. And then and it's also not like, oh, you can stop in your pit lane and they can do their tire changes and stuff.
Just you have to
sit there for 10 seconds. Then your pit crew can do whatever they need to do, and then you can go. Which 10 seconds is a massive amount of time when it comes to these kinds of races.
That seems really weird to me. But
So,
I'm also not in charge of that kind of shit. But I was just curious because if I was in charge, you would just be disqualified.
So the rear ending, is not as like explicit, and there's a lot of gray area there because the other guy, Nicholas Kappa, he could have argued that Jan was blocking him, which is also illegal. You're not allowed to you can't just purposely slow down and block somebody from continuing on. You have to maintain your speed, and you can weave back and forth to prevent them from going around you. But if they get position on you, you're supposed to let them take, for the reason of not taking contact. Does that make sense? So
that's
if you have two cars,
sketchy, but
right? So if you have two cars and this guy's trying to pass, this guy is trying to defend. If this guy can weave back and forth depending on whatever turns and stuff are coming up, he can block the race line or projected line. But if this person pulls out and goes to the left and cuts into him on the left-hand side, this guy can't just turn left into him and purposely make contact. That would be the outside guy's fault. So if that happens, then this guy has to slow down and go around, and then this guy would take the inside line and end up in front, and that's how a lot of passing happens. Or sometimes people go around like what Jan does in the race. So that's why
It's a very sketchy.
no, it is, and
thing.
that's why racing, like, it's not often that people pass each other on the straightaways because all of these cars are capped, right? You can't go over a certain power.
Otherwise, it would be unfair.
Yeah.
So it's all down to like
it's down to
positioning, maybe drag, timing of like cutting a turn or whatever.
It's based off of the skill of the driver and the like. There's a little bit of room for experimentation with your car's body panels and stuff or whatever, but then that's just different depending on the league or whatever. But that's why like when you're racing, you can't let him get the inside. Like, remember, I don't know if you remember, there's a couple times where they're like, oh, don't let him take the inside, don't let him take the inside. That's what it means, because if they take the inside, then you have to pull off and let them have the position, and then you have to fight to get that position back. And that's why it was such a big deal with Jan that he was taking the outside route, right? Because everybody like, if you look at it on paper, the quickest way around the corner is the very inside of the corner, right? But Jan was putting the car to its limits and taking the outside route at a higher rate of speed and risking spinning out or risking the car not being able to maintain the vector to get all the way around quick enough and maintain the speed.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it makes more sense the other way, just because like on the beginning half of a turn, the inside's faster, but on the other half, it's not. Because then you end up on the outside anyways. It
depends on the capabilities of your car and your capabilities of your driver. If you can hold the turn and stay on that inside line the whole way through, it's you.
Well, if the car is not an issue in this particular case, then it's just down to whether or not the driver
is capable of
which
committing.
Most of
Conviction.
Most of the people in this, I imagine, have to be. That's why they're there. So,
like, you ever taken its corner kind of fast and kind of tight, and you feel like your car is rolling to the right, or rolling to the outside, and in order to counteract that, you open your wheel up to the right to relieve that pressure, right? On the racetrack, they got to hold that, and it's up to the driver to be able to fight that urge to want to open up his wheel to correct that imbalance. So
yeah, I was just curious. So it sounds like it's just
the rear ending. There's some gray area where I could see like Nicholas Kappa getting away with it. However, the other scene where he like literally pins him up against the wall and like is just straight up just like running into him, and the BMW guy or the Audi guy also like they're boxing him in.
Yeah, smashing.
That's completely illegal. There's no like unless you're in like
that's what I'm saying. It's like, I mean, to me, both of them are kind of ridiculous because
that one there's. Yeah.
Now, I guess this really depends on the, whole scientific point of driving, but I could very easily prove that he intentionally rear-ended him to cause him to spin out, and it wouldn't take that much effort.
No.
But I guess it depends on how much that would fuck up, regulations, dynamics of the vehicle, blah, 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 blah. Because I don't know if they have like cameras and all that kind of stuff there. But it looked pretty obvious that he just fucking rammed him.
No, and I bet you, like, if it was in the real world, I bet you he got a penalty. Like, especially because he did make him spin out and whatnot, it would have gotten looked at really hard. Like, they would have really looked at it. And I guarantee you he got a penalty. In fact, I wish that they would have. I wish that was something that they would have done in the movie. Been like, oh, like, yeah, Jan didn't finish, or he ended up not. He ended up finishing 27th.
Because they just focused on he failed. Yeah, like, we lost. He ended up being fucking dead last, but it's because he got fucking rammed.
Yeah, but in reality, I guarantee you, Nicholas Kappa got a penalty for that, and he also guarantee he got a penalty when they were.
I don't even understand, but yeah, I guess I don't know. I mean, that's just me. I don't even know why it's a penalty. Like, just straight disqualified. I would probably have you temporarily like fucking have your like license like suspended, because that's basically because just because of the idea of like being race car drivers, and it is very difficult and technical and stuff, and it's very dangerous. Just doing anything intentionally to try to gain like favor or whatever advantage on somebody is inherently like
against the spirit of the sport.
Not even just the spirit of the sport, but recklessly like endangering people.
Safety.
You could have killed him.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Just because you wanted to fucking win.
Yeah.
Like I don't even think
he didn't want him to get his license. Is what he didn't want.
Right.
He didn't want
Which
him.
Something as simple as that. Like, sure, I get that you don't want him to, but like that doesn't mean you can risk killing him, yourself, the other drivers, the fucking spectators. Like that's ridiculous.
I agree. 100% agree.
Like,
I bet you if there was somebody kind of like that in the real world, I bet you
because at least in the movie, Yan afterwards is like, "What the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Like you tried to kill me or something."
No, yeah. Like he ran after him. He's like, "Oh, you could have killed me." Blah, blah,
Right.
blah. No, it's 100% a very.
I'm here to race it. That ain't racing, bro. You were fucking losing.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with you 100%. And like I wish that they would have addressed that in the show because it would have just brought a little bit more authenticity to the racing aspect of the movie. But yeah, no, I get you. If somebody pinned him against the wall like he did later on in the movie, that 100% would have warranted a disqualification, guarantee.
I would have, well, yeah, like I said, I wouldn't even at that. Like that might even be even more like, nope, you're gone. Yeah. Like you're no longer a race driver. Yeah, because that means you lost the fucking mental stability to not fucking be crazy.
It's ridiculous. Yeah,
but you know, that's just me.
Social media would have ripped them apart too, guarantee.
Yeah, maybe. Or they would have been like, but he's got a Lambo, bro.
It's cold.
He's Team Kappa, bro. Team Kappa, bro.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. This was our review of Gran Turismo.
This felt long.
Yeah, I know. We appreciate you guys sticking with us to the end here.
This was a first for us.
But yeah, it's exciting. Was a lot of fun. And it's my first episode back, guys. It's my first one back. So show us some love. Give us that like, please.
It's a great time.
Subscribe to us. We really appreciate you guys being here. You guys are seeing this review 4 days early, so you guys have plenty of time to plan, plenty of time to look at show times. Right, go check out the movie.
It's worth it.
It's a good watch. Oh, real quick before we end, how was it in ScreenX? Because you saw it in ScreenX and I saw it regular.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. Honestly, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Basically, like a lot of times, like because it's ScreenX, you get like like a full
bigger FOV
peripheral of the entire scene.
So like, imagine the driving, like the
yeah. So when he's driving, you can see out the side windows.
Oh no way! And like, that's cool.
So if you had it like you imagine yourself driving a steering, it's like you have a full stuff. And then some scenes it's just like a bigger wide shot, basically.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
But it was pretty cool.
You think it's worth it for ScreenX?
Like I mean,
if you were paying the regular prices,
yeah, if you were paying regular prices, yeah, sure. Because I mean, sometimes they have promotional stuff for like free upgrades and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it was cool. The only other movie I've watched in ScreenX, I think, was Top Gun,
right? Which
was cool.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I've still yet to experience ScreenX, so might have to do that sometime soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for bearing with us on this long episode. And thank you guys for continuing to come back day after day, week after week, as we give you guys our take on all these movies and stuff. We really appreciate you guys being here. We are quickly closing in on 100 subscribers at triple digits for the first time ever. And it's like kind of crazy to even think about that that's a possibility. But thank you guys. We really appreciate you. Please like, subscribe, comment, share with a friend. Check out our social media as well as the other shows here on Any Kine Media. And we'll catch you guys down in, oh gosh. See, this is what happens when you take a month and a half off. We'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Bye, guys.